tonight's opening for this show is going to be different than usual because of what happened this past Monday after Monday Night Raw was over. We're sitting here while we're watching Monday Night Raw. We're all getting ready on because it was the go-home show to Fastlane for Monday Night Raw. It would just seem like a normal Monday night. Monday Night Raw was as usual terrible. It kind of knocked me out, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait till the next day to do my my review. So I went to bed, got up, got as best as I can out. But I go to my Twitter page the next morning, and you see trending King Kong Bundy, and you're thinking, this is it, because usually in Twitter, and everyone knows this, usually when somebody's like big name or famous name is trending on Twitter, then it's usually not good news. But sometimes it is, though, like celebrating somebody's birthday. But this was not the best news. This apparently happened right after, like a couple hours after Monday Night Raw happened. But the man, the myth, the legend of King Kong Bundy passed away on March 4th. Now, I was born in 1990. I was not even alive when he was in his heyday, and I wasn't even really old enough to even know who King Kong Bundy was during the new era in WWF when he was part of the $1 Million Corporation. Fortunately, due to the WWE Network, I actually made it a mission on myself, because from 1993 to 2003, that was that 10-year gap, I wasn't watching Monday in WWE at the time. I grew up on WCW, and I know I was at the height of it and then the fall of it, and then I fell off for a couple years because of where I was living. I didn't have access to cable TV. I had channels 7 and 9, and that was it. So I kind of fell off with the wrestling for a bit, but I would go to school and people would talk about it still, but it still wasn't as, like, it was still popular more popular than it is now. But fortunately, going back on the WWE Network, you can see King Kong Bundy in 1994 and 5, part of the $1 Million Corporation. You get to see WrestleMania 2, where he's faced off against Hulk Hogan to go for the WWF Championship in a steel cage match in the main event, which was not a really good WrestleMania due to the fact that they decided, well, instead of doing one arena, let's do 3, and that kind of didn't work at all, and hope they never do that again. But you can't talk about the mythos of Hulk Hogan without mentioning King Kong Bundy. This guy was a monster, and of course back then it was find all the biggest guys that you can and feed them to Hulk Hogan. You had Andre, you had Bundy, you had John Studd, I believe, you had so many other ones. I don't know if the debut of King Kong Bundy, or the attack on Hogan to set up WrestleMania 2 is on the network, but I was watching JD from New York, and he has a great podcast. I think he is one of the best on this platform, and he has a great opening on King Kong Bundy, and giving you the highlights of King Kong Bundy's WWF career, and how King Kong Bundy started to set his sights on Hulk Hogan by going, I think it was Superstars of Wrestling or Saturday Night's Main Event 5, or one of those events. And the after this, Hogan was facing, I think, Don Morocco, and King Kong Bundy came out and beat him down with Bobby Heenan on his side, and that led to WrestleMania 2. And then between then and the time that he originally left WWF, he really didn't do much. Just like pretty much anybody who came up and faced Hulk Hogan, you were built up to face Hulk Hogan, and then you were irrelevant after that. Fast forward to 1994, when King Kong Bundy came into WWF again. They brought him back to be part of the $1 Million Corporation with the $1 Million Man, Tatanka, the 1-2-3 Kid, and Nikolai Volkov. He ended up facing The Undertaker at a match at WrestleMania 11, becoming, I believe, the 3rd or 4th victim of Undertaker's streak. Definitely was an awful match. The Undertaker streak was, and we'll talk about this probably whenever The Undertaker actually retires from wrestling. We'll talk about this entire streak, because the first few years, I would say the first 5 or 6 years, were nothing to talk at. The mythos and the legend of The Undertaker's undefeated streak, honestly, is only at its peak from WrestleMania 21 to WrestleMania 30. Everything before that is just, not really that big. Even though I think the Ric Flair Undertaker feud going into WrestleMania, the year those two faced off, I think it was WrestleMania 18, was damn good, but that's getting off topic. King Kong Bundy, and it's sad to know that King Kong Bundy is not in the WWE Hall of Fame. And he is, I guess, from New Jersey. And why WWE has not got this guy into the Hall of Fame, why Bam Bam Bigelow isn't in the Hall of Fame, but yet we have Tori fucking Wilson, who's done nothing for the industry, did nothing for the company or wrestling, period. And yet she's going into the Hall of Fame with no accolades and no memorable moments, no nothing. But yet guys like King Kong Bundy and Bam Bam Bigelow are absent from the WWE Hall of Fame. It again shows how much WWE's Hall of Fame is a complete joke. The Lou Thesz Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame is the legit Hall of Fame. That is a Hall of Fame that, if you want to talk about a Hall of Fame, is legit. WWE Hall of Fame is just whoever kisses Vince McMahon's ass and who Vince McMahon likes. If you're not on Vince McMahon's good side, then fuck you. Barry Darsow and the Demolition will probably never be in the Hall of Fame until they pass away, because they decided to join a concussion lawsuit against the WWE, which was recently thrown out, I believe, mid-time last year. I think we talked about it on an episode of UnScripted early on. But King Kong Bundy is definitely one of those guys who cannot be forgotten, and it's thankfully that the WWE Network does exist. Because there's a lot of people who were jumping on Twitter who didn't know who King Kong Bundy was. Quite honestly, to anybody who doesn't know who King Kong Bundy is, you should go to the WWE Network if you or a friend of yours or your parents own a copy or have a license to it. Type in the search King Kong Bundy and go check out this guy. Go check out some promos. Go check out the match against Hulk Hogan. Go check out his time in the during the New Era. He is an integral part in WWF. Especially when the build of Hulk Hogan, the mythos of Hulk Hogan, the Giant Slayer, the big man who took down the big giants. King Kong Bundy deserves his time, deserves his place in the Hall of Fame if Vince McMahon would ever do that. This would have been a perfect year. And honestly, and this is the weird thing, because usually when a legend or a wrestling legend has medical problems, we know about it. Dave Meltzer, Brian Satin, PW Insider, Pro Wrestling Torch, any of these wrestling outlets, WrestleVotes will probably say something too. All say something. Nothing. It's either A, this was sudden and nobody expected it, or B, King Kong Bundy is a very, I don't know him, I didn't know him at all, but he seems he is probably a very private person, and whatever was wrong with him, which, by the way, there's no cause of death brought out anyway, so it's either A, this was a sudden heart attack that came out of nowhere, or something like that, or B, he had medical problems going back years that nobody knew about except for him and his close family. C, drug overdose, which I highly doubt, or D, the foul play, which I still highly doubt. So it's either A or B. Either way, it's just another one of those guys that is, you will never be able to look back at wrestling and be like, there's another, you can never make another King Kong Bundy. He's one of those superstars he wasn't ahead of his time. He was actually right place, right time. And hopefully he can get his just due eventually. It does suck that he will not be able to sit up there and be what I want to say, have the love and cheers from the fans one time. He was always a heel, it seemed like, in WWF. I don't think he's ever was a babyface. He was on the Indies. I don't know what he did on the Indies until 2007 when I believe he retired. But if you don't know who King Kong Bundy is, find the network if you have a copy of the network. Look on YouTube if you can. Go to his Wikipedia page, because even though Wikipedia is something you can't trust, there is still a lot of his history there. Go look the guy up if you really want to know. If anybody who is a young wrestling fan, younger than me, I'm 29 years old, my birthday was yesterday, and you want to try and learn the history of the WWE, WWF, or wrestling in general, the network or any other source of media that you can find for this would be a great thing for you to learn. Guys like this, I just don't want to see them lost to history, and I don't think King Kong Bundy will. You can't talk about Hulk Hogan at all without Roddy Piper, King Kong Bundy, Bobby Heenan, Andre the Giant, and many others. King Kong Bundy has his place, and it's just another legend gone. We lost Jimmy Gilland earlier this year, and now we lost King Kong Bundy. On another note, also in a non-wrestler, but somebody who is a wrestling fan, and son is going to be wrestling for probably in the over-budget Battle Royal, is Luke Perry passed away as well this week. He had a stroke, I believe, last week, and he passed away a couple days ago. So, for the Perry and King Kong, the friends, family, fans of King Kong Bundy, Luke Perry, my heart goes out to you guys. On another note, this person has not died, but was a interviewer or like a stagehand or like a character on a WrestleMania a couple, like 10, 15 years ago. Alex Trebek, the Jeopardy host, has revealed to everybody that he has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Just a lot of people who are wrestling fans in general, or fans of any media or something, are just having their heartstrings pulled this week. This week was a bad week for anything big. So, King Kong Bundy's friends, family, and fans, and Luke Perry's fans, family, and fans, and Alex Trebek's friends, family, and fans. Heart goes out to all of you, and I hope Alex can fight what he can do so we don't make it another one who goes before he should be gone. That is your opening to Unscripted this week. I will be back here in a second. We are going to hit that intro, and we will be right back. What is going on, everybody? It's the France, and we're here for Unscripted episode 64, your March 9th, 2019. We're one day removed from my 29th birthday. That was yesterday. Thank you. It has been one hell of a week. Some good news, some bad news for this WWE, and some heartbreaking news. Of course, we talked about King Kong Bundy, Luke Perry passing away this week, and so much more. But, of course, as we do every single week, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT look backs on the week. Biggest thing coming out of Monday Night Raw, of course, was the fact that Ronda Rousey finally felt natural and felt real. She said on her blog post that she went off the script on Monday Night Raw. I highly doubt that. We'll talk about that later. But she did something I've been wanting to see her for a while. Even last year when she was feuding with Stephanie, she didn't feel like she did this past Monday. The biggest problem with what's going on with the Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania is that WWE just knows how to kill a good thing. It just feels like as the weeks go on for the build towards WrestleMania, less and less people are caring about this match overall. This is an absolute mess. Absolute mess. There could have been, it was real simple. And they just keep adding layer and layer and layer and layer and layer, and it just doesn't work. Adding layers to a character, to a storyline, are fine. That's the integral part of making great characters and great storytelling. This is not. It's just so bad. Let's turn Ronda Rousey, let's do this, let's do that. No, they could have just did this so simply. I know why they want to put Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey in a triple threat match. For the simple fact is, Ronda's supposed to be leaving after WrestleMania, and they want in. Honestly, if this was not a main event match, if this match was going to be like midway through the show or the opener of the show, it would be Ronda versus Becky one-on-one. No doubt about it. But the fact that they want this is the main event match, this is going to close the show. As far as we know right now, Vince McMahon can change his mind and be like, nope, I want Brock and Seth to be in the main event because we're going to do something with Roman. But as of right now, this is the main event. And WWE doesn't want one participant in the main event to be on Monday Night Raw the next night, and the other one to just be gone. That's why that's happening. But it's just a mess. It's an absolute mess. And a lot of people are starting to not care. Yeah, Becky's going to get cheered. Becky's going to get the Becky chance because Becky is Becky Lynch. She is what everyone wants to see. But when you think about it, when you look at what's going on with this feud, it is absolutely just starting. The mystique and the appeal of this match is just starting to fade. The other big match from WrestleMania on the Raw brand, which is the Universal Championship match, I don't think anyone gives a shit about. Seth Rollins is back with the Shield. No build to the Brock Lesnar match because you can't build to a Brock Lesnar match without Brock Lesnar or Paul Heyman being there. And it's just, I don't care. If Seth Rollins wins the Universal Championship, which honestly, I feel I'm 50-50 on right now. I'm like, the coin for me is flipping back and forth. Because Roman is back, and WWE could do anything between now and WrestleMania, or if anything, at WrestleMania, have Seth lose, and then we get to the Saudi Arabia show in May, and WWE decides, well, we're going to put the title on Roman. We wanted to have the title on Roman, so we're going to have Brock lose the title to Roman Reigns like he was supposed to, like he did at SummerSlam, and we'll be back at square one. This is just awful. WWE has taken WrestleMania 32. WrestleMania 32 was infamous because injury after injury after injury after injury happened for WrestleMania 32. There were just injuries beyond injuries beyond injuries. Cena was injured. Bryan was injured. Done for the WWE at the time. Seth Rollins was injured. So many people were injured coming into WrestleMania 32 that they had a shell of the talent for WrestleMania 32 that they had at WrestleMania 31. And they still had more, they were still planned ahead so much for WrestleMania 32. When you get, like, with WrestleMania, and same thing with, like, Wrestle Kingdom, or the big pay-per-view of the year, the biggest pay-per-view of the year for a company like WWE, Tokyo, New Japan, Impact Wrestling for Bound for Glory, like 6 months out, you should have in pencil what your matches are going to be for WrestleMania. In pencil. With backup matches. So Seth versus Brock Lesnar is the choice. Oh, I'm sorry. Roman versus Rock was their first choice. Roman gets sick. What's the backup plan? Seth versus Brock. What's the backup plan if Seth gets hurt? You should have a list by SummerSlam. There should be they should have at least 5 or 6 creative people working on WrestleMania. Honestly, it feels like when Roman Reigns went out, this entire WrestleMania card was just wasted. Whatever they had planned for WrestleMania centered around Roman Reigns facing The Rock. Rock was supposed to come back at the Royal Rumble, win the Royal Rumble match, go to WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns for his 5th in a row main event match. And then it would have just been awful. You think it's bad now? That would have been insufferable. So, the 2 big matches for WrestleMania right now feel absolutely meaningless. The only 2 matches for WrestleMania. We are like 5 weeks away. Not even that. We're 4 weeks away, aren't we? We are 4 weeks away from WrestleMania. Or 5 weeks. Yeah, we're 5 weeks away from WrestleMania. And we still only have 2 matches. The 2 Royal Rumble matches is it. Fastlane is hurting WrestleMania. Big time. Now, 2006, 17, 2018 versions of Fastlane, it wasn't as bad because they were single-branded pay-per-views. So the other brand could be building towards WrestleMania. If they would have kept flip-flopping and it would have been single-branded pay-per-views, this would have been Raw's Fastlane instead of both shows. So SmackDown would have been building towards WrestleMania. It was a little bit more manageable. But now that it's back to just dual-branded pay-per-views, Fastlane has no reason to exist. To Vince McMahon, the only reason Fastlane exists is this. Fastlane is another 3-hour pay-per-view of live content on the WWE Network. That is the only reason it exists. It has no merit, it does not help, and it kills the road to WrestleMania. If they want to keep Fastlane a pay-per-view, here's what you do. Fastlane and Elimination Chamber are the only 2 pay-per-views of the calendar year to be single-branded pay-per-views. Plain and simple. So when we get done with the Elimination Chamber, whatever brand has that mat, has that show, goes and can build towards WrestleMania, while the other brand builds towards Fastlane, and whatever comes out of Fastlane can go to WrestleMania. Having it be a dual-branded pay-per-view is an absolute mistake, and it kills WrestleMania. And on top of that, this card, which is going to be happening on Sunday, tomorrow, is just awful. Do you care about Fastlane? I sure as hell don't. I put my predictions out yesterday. Make sure to check that out on the channel. And I pretty much think this is one of the more predictable shows. We know exactly who's going to go to WrestleMania with what title, or who's going to... Oh, it's just terrible. This pay-per-view should not exist, and it needs to go. And of course, as we talked about, the Shield will be united after retconning for weeks. For the last 3 weeks, they've been retconning Dean Ambrose's heel turn and making him pseudo babyface. He didn't want to be with the Shield anymore. Roman Reigns came back out this week and wanted to get the band back together. He had to talk Seth Rollins into being like, well, I don't want my brothers. That's like, life is too short. We don't know what tomorrow brings, which is WWE pretty much. WWE, on this episode of Monday Night Raw 2, mentioned Dean Ambrose leaving WWE a lot more than ever. They haven't not mentioned Dean Ambrose outside of that statement saying that that he was leaving back in January. And then they didn't mention it on Raw. He started losing matches, even though he 50-50 with fucking EC3, which made no sense. He got buried by Drew McIntyre. And then all of a sudden, he's being a babyface again. But he doesn't want to be in the Shield. But then Roman and Seth, after Seth gets pretty much guilted into reforming the Shield again one more time, even WWE's playing up the one last time shtick. The Shield is back, and I honestly don't care. How many Shield reunions can you do before the crowd just starts going, again? It's either A, keep the Shield together, or B, do not bring them back together for at least 10 years. WWE had Evolution from 2002 to 2004. Or 2005, right? Yeah, 2005. That's a 3-year span of a faction. Yeah, Randy Orton got kicked out and it was down to a 3-man group for a good while. But Evolution didn't have a proper reunion until last year. Last year at SmackDown 1000. Yeah, they had some kind of mini reunion, but the difference between the Shield and Evolution is the fact that Randy Orton, Batista, Triple H, and Ric Flair himself all evolved into better versions of themselves from Evolution. When they came back together for that, well, it was I think it was actually on Raw's 20th anniversary or something. It was Batista, Triple H, and Ric Flair. Randy Orton was up on the stage and they started talking trash on him. He started talking trash on them, and it was I think Raid or KO versus Triple H and Batista. So yeah, they didn't have a proper reunion for Evolution until last year at SmackDown 1000. This is the third Shield reunion in 3 years. The Shield broke up 5 years ago. When the Shield first reunited, they only been broken up for 3 years. That is ridiculous. Why the hell would you break up a faction that was so popular only to bring them back together 3 years later? It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to anybody. Why would you do that? It stifled Dean Ambrose. It stifled Seth Rollins. And whatever you had for Roman, it stifled him too. Hell, look at last year's reunion. Seth Rollins was the hottest commodity on Monday Night Raw. Probably on the main roster. You can't touch anything that NXT's been doing. I'm sorry, Seth, but you can't. But he was the hottest babyface on the Raw roster. Monday Night Rollins was a thing. They had shirts for Monday Night Rollins in the old Monday Night Raw from the New Generation era, where it was Monday Night Raw. It said Monday Night Rollins. He was the Intercontinental Champion. He brought so much more prestige to that title than anybody had in a while. What did they do? The night after SummerSlam, boom, Shield's back together. Intercontinental title doesn't mean shit. All the momentum that Seth Rollins had, gone. Like that. So, that's stifling. And then because of that, when we get to the Dean Ambrose heel turn, what do they do to Dean Ambrose? They fuck up that. Then we get to the TLC match. The TLC match from hell between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. What should have been these two going in there, taking and doing the Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens punches to each other like you see all the time. But no, what do they start out? They start just having a wrestling match. Not a PS6 brawl, not a fight, a wrestling match. Fans chanted boring. Fans chanted this match sucks. And Seth Rollins was deemed in the back as not feeling like people in the back felt like Seth Rollins wasn't the big star that they built him up to be. Whose fault is that? This is why the Shield needs to stop. This is why I want Dean Ambrose to go. There is a report, and we will talk about that in a bit. Dean Ambrose might still be leaving, and quite honestly, if this report is true, Jonathan Good needs to leave. Because, I will talk about it then, there's a reason why Jonathan Good should go, and it would be better for him as a character to leave than to stay. Plain and simple. Getting off track a little bit, next thing also we need to talk about for Monday Night Raw is that Triple H again, for I don't know how many times in the last 4 or 5 years, has shown that the full-time guys on the roster can't touch, outside of a Paul Heyman and a John Cena, nobody on this main roster on Raw. I'm not going to count SmackDown because Daniel Bryan is becoming untouchable. But nobody on the main roster on Monday Night Raw can touch Triple H when it comes to promos. This guy can cut a promo and sell you on anything. He again shows why he was the man for so long and why John Cena is also the man, because these two can cut promos, circles around anybody on the roster for a match against Batista that is going to happen at WrestleMania. They're supposed to have a face-to-face next week, which is going to be epic as hell probably, and the match is probably going to be utter dog shit, but I cannot wait to see what these guys do when it comes to a face-to-face confrontation. Other than that, Monday Night Raw was just trash. That was the biggest thing from Monday Night Raw, and then of course the Shield reunion, who gives a shit. We're going to see them tomorrow, and quite honestly, if I was booking things, Dean Ambrose would cost the Shield the match, and that would lead to a match between Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose at WrestleMania. What the fuck else are they going to do? There's talk about Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin at WrestleMania. The least, that's going to be, that's a piss break at WrestleMania. That's that. SmackDown Live, of course, had Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens have a confrontation. Mustafa Ali make his return. Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch fight a little bit, and pretty much taking any intrigue out of their match this coming Sunday. The biggest story coming out of this show was Samoa Joe finally taking that pickaxe and striking gold in the WWE, winning the United States Championship in a pretty damn good Fatal 4-Way, the match of the night, of course. Well, I'm sorry, the match of the main roster week, for sure, in which he beat R-Truth, Andrade Cien Almas, and Rey Mysterio in a Fatal 4-Way. And the title, any fucking championship you can put on this guy's shoulder looks damn good on him. I'm excited and I'm happy. And rumors going around that this is going to lead to him versus John Cena at WrestleMania. And the only way this happens is John Cena is looking up at the lights at the end of this match. Or, if he's not even looking up at the lights, he's passed out. Because John Cena is not going to tap out. But John Cena has lost a match by quote-unquote submission. Because if you remember at Fastlane, the first Fastlane, I'm pretty sure, 2015, he faced Rusev. And Rusev beat John Cena not by tap out, but by pass out. That's how I think that match should end, if that's the match to happen. John Cena, Samoa Joe, WrestleMania, make it happen. That's also a great thing, in my opinion, for Samoa Joe, for the simple fact is, he's going to his first WrestleMania for the United States Championship in a big match against one of the people who he started in this business against, John Cena. It's going to be a great thing. And hopefully it would be him passing out John Cena in the Coquina Clutch. Cena doesn't tap out. He passes out. That's the way you build this. And it would also build credibility to Joe and the United States Championship. And then from now until at least SummerSlam or even next year at the Royal Rumble, Joe beats everybody, not by tap out, but by pass out. That's the way I think we should build Samoa Joe. And then once NXT had its next to last set of tapings for the last set of tapings. And can I just tell you how selfish Vince McMahon is and how erratic he is? The biggest news coming out of Wednesday made the NXT tapings NXT show absolutely irrelevant, because next week we have Ricochet and Aleister Black versus DIY, and I believe it was Mustache Mountain versus the Forgotten Sons in the semifinals to the Dusty Road Tag Team Classic. Unfortunately, due to Vince McMahon's erratic behavior in pulling 4 guys up from NXT without consulting Triple H about it, one guy who just undergone successful surgery yesterday is going to be out for 3 to 6 months. That is a positive in this. The recovery time is 3 to 6 months. So that could mean we could see Tommaso Ciampa back by the end of the year. Now, that's not saying he'll be back in that time, but the surgery he did say is the prognosis is he should be back within 3 to 6 months. I don't buy that one, but I'd say 6 to 12 months probably. But if it's 3 to 6 months and we see him back in 6 months, that would be absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, the big match, the match that we've been waiting for and pining for 2 goddamn years, is gone. And I don't know how this is going to end. The Johnny Gargano, the only way I could see this ending any other way is that not this set of tape, not this match, because this Wednesday's already taped. They're going to be taping at NXT again this coming Wednesday at Full Sail. So anybody who thinks that the tapings are all the way up to February 27th, they're not. The tapings end that they did for last set of tapings ends this week. They have 3 weeks left to tape. 3 weeks, I think, with something left to tape. 4 weeks or whatever. We're going to start this off with Tommaso Ciampa. That's the first thing. When this next set of tapings airs, not this coming Wednesday, but the Wednesday after, the first thing that airs is, I'm hoping, could be Tommaso Ciampa walking down to his music, neck brace or whatever, with the NXT Championship in hand, Goldie in hand, to come down to formally have him to relinquish it, not because he wants to, because he has to. Calls out Gargano and says whatever he has to say, and the last thing he should be like is, I have to let this go, not because I want to, because I have to. Now you better win this so I can come back and take it from you. Now the biggest problem is Gargano was going to win the NXT Championship. Ciampa was going to lose to him, and because of the neck injury, and he's been injured, and I still am trying to find out when he actually got injured, because there's been nothing said about when he actually got injured. Now, Gargano was going to win the title. Ciampa was actually going to get through this match. This match was going to be pretty much not like, usually when you get to the big crescendo like this was supposed to be, that's going to mean you have a great match, the best match of them all. This would be a 6-star match. Unfortunately, due to the neck injury, that was going to limit what Tommaso Ciampa could do. In my opinion, that would probably would have had a quick match, not a 15-20 minute barn burner like we've seen before. This would have been a much different match. But due to Vince McMahon's selfishness, this match got taken away from us. Anybody want to blame somebody, you blame Vince McMahon, because you put this guy in a match with 2 of the hardest fucking hitters on the goddamn main roster, and look what happened. He's gone for 6 to 8 to whatever months. You took away something that our fans, like me, like you, like everyone else, has been waiting for, long-term built up for 2 fucking years. And because of your selfishness, because of your recklessness, because your inept ability to actually build characters yourself, your selfishness cost us something that everybody wanted to fucking see. You selfish son of a bitch. Unfortunately, we have nothing. We don't know what's going on. Triple H and his team have a week to figure this shit out. I trust Triple H over that senile old fool. We have some talk about that too, about coming up on Fastlane, about how he's been has been fucking up his own creative team. Well, we'll get to that later. This should not have happened. If the right communication between Triple H and Vince McMahon was actually conducted, Ciampa would not have made his main roster debut. Gargano, they probably, and this is the thing that sucks, Gargano, Velveteen Dream probably would have been brought up. Velveteen Dream, Gargano, Black, and Ricochet all would have been brought up, probably instead of Ciampa, because Ciampa needed rest and needed held off until we get to NXT TakeOver at New York. But because of Vince McMahon's selfishness, his recklessness, and the fact that he needs to fucking go, this is more proof that Vince McMahon needs to go. We have more evidence later. This was uncalled for, unnecessary, and ruined something that everybody who really loves this business wanted to see. There was no fucking reason to see Tommaso Ciampa make his debut on SmackDown, no less, against The Bar. The Bar. You have two of the hardest guys, the hardest hitters. You have Sheamus and Cesaro. The only other person, if he's allowed to, who works stiffer than those two is Shinsuke Nakamura. Why would you put them in a match? And on top of that, he almost injured his knee going up against Sheamus. That could have happened against anybody, but that's not the point. Because of that and what happened the night before, Ciampa is gone for 6 to 8 months or 3 to 6 months or whatever the timetable of his return is. Unfortunately, due to this neck injury, this is something that Edge and Stone Cold, Steve Austin, and Lita all suffered. Unfortunately, with this type of injury, you do not come back the same again. Nobody. This is also going to cut Ciampa's career short by a couple years. Not right now, but say Ciampa could have been in WrestleMania main events in 5 years. 6 years, 7 years. He could be in WWE for the next 7 years. Now, because of this neck injury, it could be 3 to 4 years. It's absolutely pathetic. And again shows why Vince has to go. I am sick and tired of seeing people get sacrificed. And on top of that, if this injury wasn't a problem, how long would it have been before Tommaso Ciampa got in a feud with Roman Reigns, only for Roman to hit one fucking spear, 1, 2, 3, and end that? This is a bad thing. And this again is more evidence why Vince needs to fucking go. And again, we're going to harken this back to a couple episodes ago where I talked about how some dumbass from WWE was like, oh, if Vince McMahon was to die or have to be like, if Vince McMahon was to die or be like fired or resign or whatever, we couldn't make compelling characters or we couldn't make compelling storylines. Bullshit. He is hurting the company from the inside. He is trying to kill his company without anybody telling him otherwise. If I was a board member and actually had a fucking brain to see what this guy is doing, I would be holding a emergency meeting and voting this motherfucker out. Plain and simple. They have the power. If they wanted to vote Vince McMahon out, they can. And I wish they would. Put Triple H in charge. If Vince McMahon wants to go run Alpha Entertainment in XFL, which we'll talk a little bit about the lies that Vince McMahon brought on that, then I would be fine. If he wants to sit back and do the business section and try and, get those business deals like for Saudi Arabia or even China or something else, fine. But being the person to run this circus that's Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, he needs to be cut off and take the pen out of his fucking hand because all he's going to do is kill his own business. And it's fucking pathetic. That was SmackDown Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Moving on here, as we go on to not rant right now. Just going to throw this up here because let me know what you guys think about this. The WrestleMania 36 logo. Did I not work? Yeah. The WrestleMania 36 logo. This is what's going to be happening. If you haven't heard yet, this logo could tell you exactly where they're going to be. WWE has confirmed that WrestleMania 36 will take place on April 5th, 2020 from Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. The Tampa Bay Times are reporting the date will be, of course, April 5th. And then, of course, they had a press conference with the Titus O'Neil. They had Banks and Bayley and Natalya sitting front row. They had Stephanie, Triple H, of course. No Vince McMahon, which I found very interesting because he's usually always a part of these press conferences for WrestleMania. I think this is actually the first I could be wrong. I don't remember last year's WrestleMania press conference, but I'm pretty sure this is the first WrestleMania press conference Vince McMahon has not been a part of on the up forward. So, let's put that back up. This is going to be an interesting logo when we get to WrestleMania season next year. This is, if WrestleMania 36 doesn't have a pirate boat, if this does not have a pirate theme, like when WrestleMania in Orlando last time had a roller coaster theme, a Universal Studios looking roller coaster theme, I will be absolutely disappointed. That set better be a fucking pirate ship. Just saying. And the pyro should be coming out of cannons. Cannons. Like, if, Roman Reigns does his, his Superman, thing and then does the punch down, I want to see cannons shooting off. That would be fucking awesome. Just saying. That's me. But this is a really... I wish there was a 36 in there. I know that Vince McMahon doesn't want the numbers to be in there anymore. But yet you have, at this entire press conference, you have the name WrestleMania 36 all the time. There's nothing wrong with having the names in the logo, the numbers in the logo. It's just petty and stupid, and it's another thing that Vince McMahon needs to get out of his head. But yeah, that is WrestleMania 36. It will be in Tampa Bay, Florida. If you're in the Tampa area, this is actually your first local WrestleMania. WrestleMania has been in Florida 3 other times, but this is actually the first in Tampa, so there you go. On to more pressing matters here. This is more evidence that Vince McMahon has to go. Vince McMahon is causing problems in personal lives of WWE creative team. Vince McMahon is a 73-year-old senile chairman of the board in WWE. Everything on WWE television works the way he wants it to, and this goes for all other aspects of his company, which needs to change immediately. Dave Meltzer explained on the Wrestling Observer Radio how WWE writers were staying up until 3 a.m. this week to get the Fastlane card put together. This is the go-home week of Fastlane. If you're working your guys to death to get the card together this week, and you didn't have this all the way back before the Elimination Chamber, give me a fucking break. These cards should be put together start written in pen as soon as the previous pay-per-view is done. And before we get to the Elimination Chamber, Fastlane's coming up. You should have a card ready to go. And as we get through the weeks, this should be written in pen. This is ridiculous. This is not a new trend because everything in WWE works according to Vince McMahon. It's been bad because on midweek day, when they have to have the big meetings to do all that stuff, it's just like Vince will put them off, and they don't even start the meeting sometimes until 10 at night. Even if it was supposed to start at 5 or 6. They just want to sit there and wait for Vince to finish whatever stuff he's doing. They start at 10, and it's been real regular that it ends up after 3 or 4. Most people, it's probably a negative doing all that work. Because number one, you just want to get it over with, and the other one is you're just freaking tired that you're not at your best. And what sucks is, your meeting's supposed to start at 5 or 6. If Vince McMahon doesn't want to start this meeting and he just wants to do whatever he's doing, you can't do anything. You can't start there and just start writing things down. You have to sit there and twiddle your thumbs, play little mobile games, or tweet on your Twitter on your cell phone. Because if you come up with anything when Vince McMahon's not around, it gets crumbled up and thrown in a waste paper basket. Plain and simple. So that's probably the reasons why it's this bad, and probably a small reason. But when you're adding up the reason, it's another reason. It's a reason why a lot of people have, fallen by the wayside on the creative end. Because a normal person, you're supposed to start at 6, and you have to wait another 4 hours, and you're not out there until 3 a.m., 3:30 a.m., or 3 or 5 a.m., depending on that week. There have been 3:30 weeks. It's a pretty tough job in that sense. It's a tough job to have while the same things leading to a normal life. WWE works at Vince McMahon's direction, Therefore, it is pretty hard to write a show when he isn't around, because if Vince doesn't like something that you worked hours on to put together, he will change it immediately. This has to be a bit frustrating and also makes it pretty much impossible to have a personal life apart from the company when you never know how long you will be forced to sit around waiting for the boss to show up. So if you're growing upset as a viewer, just imagine what it's like for the writers sitting around for 4 or 5 hours waiting on Vince McMahon to actually start a meeting. Again, I'll have to say it again. Vince McMahon has to go. This is unacceptable. If you're Vince McMahon and you say that your meeting starts at 5 o'clock, then your ass needs to get to the meeting at 5 o'clock, and I'm talking about Vince McMahon. Stop fucking up your writers' personal lives. They shouldn't have to wait 4 or 5 hours because of your lazy ass. Maybe this tells you that you shouldn't be in the position that you are. Go to Titan Tower, sit at your fucking desk, and be the businessman. Be the guy who takes the meeting, shake the hands, gets the WrestleManias, get the SummerSlams, the Survivor Series arenas down pat. Looks like Royal Rumble's going to be at baseball fields from now on. I could be wrong. It is 2 years in a row they're going to be doing that. That part of the business, you can do that. Not a big problem. Let other people run Raw and SmackDown. It's not that fucking hard. Why are you going to sit there and be like, well, meeting at 5 o'clock. Well, everybody's there. Where the fuck's Vince McMahon? Oh, he's off doing X, Y, and Z. Come on. Absolutely ridiculous. I bet you nobody in NXT has to go through this, because I'm guarantee you Triple H is way better off than Vince McMahon is on this. This is absolutely ridiculous. And another check in the box of Vince McMahon needs to go. Update on when Roman Reigns is expected back full time. Roman Reigns made his coveted return on Raw 2 weeks ago and revealed that he is in remission and ready to return to work. He then made his second appearance in consecutive weeks this past Monday to reunite with the Shield brothers. He will next be in action this weekend at Fastlane, but when will Roman make his full-time return to the WWE? Dave Meltzer is reporting that the current plan in belief is that Roman will join WWE on their next European tour in May, and from that point forward will begin working at full-time schedule again, including a lot of events. There is speculation that he may return full-time sooner, that depending on how things turn out. To anybody who thought Roman Reigns might be back immediately, 110%, not even close. The guy has not wrestled in 4 months. 5 months, really, 4 months. But it's great to see him back, and let's see how it goes. We'll talk about a thing. I think I have it on here. I'm pretty sure I had this. I'm pretty sure I thought I had it on here. That note skipped me. Okay, yeah, so Roman Reigns is back, but he's not going to be back for a while. And you got to expect that. He does have CML leukemia. This was discussed in his Chronicle episode. He didn't have to go through actual chemotherapy. They make a pill that he can take to be able to combat the leukemia. But the side effect is that he has a little bit of arthritis. Now, one, I would take, if I was in his position, I would take that pill over chemotherapy any single day, and I guarantee you would do the same thing. It's not curable, so he'll have to deal with this his entire life until something breaks through. So there's a breakthrough in medicine to be able to cure CML leukemia. But with this revelation of what he actually has and the side effects of this pill, WWE cannot book this guy to be the one and only guy in WWE anymore. They can't. They cannot. The arthritis thing, yeah, I would take arthritis over taking chemotherapy any single day of the week. But that's going to build up over time. Yeah, arthritis, it might be a little arthritis now. But he starts going in there and taking bump after bump after bump. Bump after bump after bump. And it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So Roman's career, just no fault of his own, is probably shortened as well. He might be able to wrestle for the next 2-3 years, but and that's it. After that, the arthritis gets way too much, and he's not going to be able to wrestle anymore. He can be one of the top guys. I'm not saying not make him one of the top focal points of the WWE, but he can't be the sole focal point of the WWE. Unfortunately, with how WWE goes with this, Vince McMahon is so stubborn that this is going to be his final. This is supposed to be Roman. It's supposed to be Vince McMahon's last guy that he picks to be the flag bearer of WWE. And honestly, there were so many, like, times have changed in the last 4 months. You have Ricochet up there now, Aleister Black up there now. Two guys who could carry the flag for WWE, or be two guys who help carry the flag. Roman can't do it on his own. He's not going to be able to. His body, with this leukemia thing, is not going to be able to hold up. But the fact that he takes that pill, and one, I would do that no matter what, but him having to take that pill is, like, gives him a little bit of arthritis. And it's going to build up over time. And arthritis is not something that just goes away. Even if he went, you know what, I don't like this arthritis, I'm gonna go take some chemo to get rid of this. It's not gonna go away. It's just gonna get progressively worse and worse as it goes. We could see in 2 years Roman Reigns happen to retire due to having his arthritis go from being minor to major, to where it hurts too much to wrestle. And the fact that it just feels like Roman's not going, he's going to have to scale back too. He's not going to be able to wrestle all the time. It might be minor right now, but say 6 months from now, it starts getting more and more worse. Like a normal person like me who doesn't bump my ass off every night for 300 nights a year, having that is not it would not be as bad, because I'm not sitting there taking bumps and hurting my body to entertain the masses. Someone like Roman, it's definitely going to make his career, instead of being like, oh, I can be here for the next 10 years, to being, I might only be able to be here for the next 3 or 4 years. It's not, that's definitely going, Vince McMahon and WWE is going to have to think about that and be like, well, this guy is here, we want to have him here, but his body is not going to be able to hold him up for that long. Of course, WWE is going to try and get as much out of Roman as they can for as long as they can. But honestly, Roman Reigns cannot be pushed the way he was before. This is a different Roman. What's sad is the fact that WWE is doing everything they can to exploit this condition. They did it while he was gone. They sat there and had Baron Corbin on the night he returned sit there and just bash Roman Reigns' leukemia, and how, for his sake, I hope we don't run into each other again. You had the whole Dean Ambrose debacle when he started saying that Roman Reigns has to deal with leukemia because of his dealings at being in the Shield. This has been something that Vince McMahon should not exploit as much as he is. They come back, they have him wearing a cancer shirt, which I'm sure none of the proceeds to that shirt is going anywhere to cancer research, which is kind of a mistake. Now, WWE is now having Roman Reigns come out there and be like, "Oh, life is too short. I don't know we don't know what tomorrow will bring us for this Shield reunion." And I'm telling you right now, not a big fan of it at all. Roman will be back in May, full time. But as I said, after he comes back full time, just because he's not back full time yet, I'm sure he's down in the Performance Center when they're off. Well, because he lives in Florida. I'm pretty sure he lives in Florida. He's probably at the Performance Center at least a couple times a week, getting ready to be back in ring shape for his full time return. And after WrestleMania, they'll address that later. I don't think he's going to be on the Saudi show. He might be in the Saudi show in May. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's going to be there. It's all going to take turns in time, but Roman Reigns, let's see how bad WWE fucks this up. They have what they want. They have him being one of the most over babyface outside of Kofi Kingston on the main roster. But how long will it be until Vince McMahon puts him back in the Universal Championship picture? And people are saying you can't boo a cancer patient. Oh yeah? You can't boo a cancer patient when WWE books it right. But when was the last time WWE booked something right? Jeff Jarrett apparently joins WWE Creative Team. WWE Hall of Famer has officially joined the WWE Creative Team, according to PW Insider. Jarrett's new role with the writing team is said to be full-time, exclusive, executive-level role. WWE continues to make news that will strengthen the creative team. Bruce Pritchard was brought back as a senior vice president as a few weeks back, and Paul Heyman has been taking on a more prominent role with the team, becoming more intimately involved in writing and producing the WrestleMania 35 storylines for Universal Champion Brock Lesnar and Women's Champion Ronda Rousey. Jarrett returned to WWE in January for the Men's Royal Rumble appearance and was then hired as a backstage producer. He was involved in last week's Raw and SmackDown production meetings and then spent several days last week at WWE's HQ in Stamford, Connecticut before officially being added to the writing team. Jeff Jarrett's on the writing team, on the creative team, it's not going to make a difference. As we reported earlier, everything goes through Vince McMahon. And 99% of the stuff that goes to Vince McMahon gets nixed. Everything that we see on Raw and everything we see on SmackDown goes from Vince McMahon. Maybe small things here and there come from other superstars, like the list of Jericho. I'm pretty sure was not a Vince McMahon idea. I believe that was Jimmy Jacobs and Chris Jericho coming up with that together. But storylines, major storylines, all have to go through Vince McMahon, and they don't. And Jeff Jarrett being put in there, Bruce Pritchard being put in there, doesn't make a damn difference. Plain and simple. Will it make a difference? I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. If you're having your writing team stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning, tired as fuck because for 4 hours or 5 hours they had to wait for Vince McMahon to even start a meeting, Raw's not going to get any better, and SmackDown's going to get no better. So what do we expect? This doesn't matter until Vince McMahon changes his ways or gets the fuck out. Backstage news on AJ Styles' status for the WWE. AJ Styles still has not signed a new WWE contract as of this recording. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, his current deal reportedly expires in April. Styles, who turns 42 this year, has reportedly told friends that he will re-sign with WWE, and it's generally expected that he will stay. It was reported earlier this year that Styles would have a lot of leverage during contract talks with WWE due to all of the wrestling speculation, whether AEW would offer Styles significant pay with an easier schedule. He's making a lot of money with WWE these days, but the AEW could potentially beat WWE's offer. The Observer reports that in AEW have not expected Styles to consider a job with them, but they would obviously want to sign him if he was interested. Styles is good friends with AEW Executive Vice Presidents, the Young Bucks, good enough that they talked with him when they were considering their own futures in late 2018. Styles is also the dream opponent of AEW Executive Vice President Kenny Omega, as he revealed in a recent interview with Tokyo Sports. Styles is currently rumored for a WrestleMania 35 match with Randy Orton. He has been at the top of the WWE title scene until losing the belt to Dana Bryan in mid-November. AJ Styles is going nowhere unless something big happens, like something that he talks to Vince about, or they, like in the contract talks, something he wants, Vince McMahon refuses to give him, and then he talks to his buddies, the Young Bucks, and they're like, yeah, no problem, we'll do that for you. Then I can see AJ Styles leaving, but I don't think AJ Styles is leaving WWE. AJ Styles has talked about wrestling maybe another year or two, and then going and turning into going to work at NXT and working the Performance Center as a coach for NXT. So it would not surprise me if AJ Styles wrestles till WrestleMania 36 or 37, calls it a career, and then he goes to the Performance Center and becomes a coach for NXT. This was big news this last weekend. The backstage news on Arn Anderson's firing. Arn Anderson was released from WWE in the February due to an incident at a live event with Alicia Fox. Wrestling Inc. has confirmed with multiple sources that Anderson was fired because Fox showed up at a live event intoxicated. Anderson was the agent for her match and allowed her to perform. Vince McMahon was reportedly furious when he found out it was and that was the final straw. Anderson had been working with WWE since WCW folded in 2001. He was occasionally appear in backstage segments and even got physical at the WWE Starrcade event in November of 2017, where he delivered his trademark Spinebuster to Dolph Ziggler. Fox's status is currently unclear, but she was not backstage at Raw last week. It hasn't wrestled since the February 10th live event in Saginaw, Michigan, where she teamed with Mickie James and Nikki Cross in a losing effort to Bayley, Dana Brooke, and Natalya. WWE has been reached out, but they have not said anything since. Apparently, Alicia Fox has gone AWOL since she was offered rehab, which, in my opinion, should be an automatic dismissal of employment. WWE should have no problem firing Alicia Fox because, quite honestly, I don't think anybody will pick her up. Nobody, there's absolutely no value in Alicia Fox in WWE. Yeah, she has tenure. She's the longest active. I think she's the longest active competitor in WWE for the women's side. I think she beats Natalya by a year or 6 months. But first off, if this is true, Arn Anderson has every right to be fired. you are in charge of this match with Alicia Fox and whoever her opponent was. If that was that tag team match, wrestling in a one-on-one match or a tag team match is down to trust. The person you're in the match, in the ring with, and the referee. You have to trust each other with the moves that you're going to perform and the moves you're going to take from this person. Are you going to kick me in the face, or are you going to be able to make it look like you kicked me in the face? Are you going to be able to not hurt me and injure me? Letting Alicia Fox go out intoxicated just takes all that trust that her opponent had and throws it out the window. If that is true and that he allowed that to happen, I would not blame WWE for firing Arn Anderson on those grounds. I do not put blame on just Arn Anderson. Alicia Fox should be fired as well. She is just as guilty. Whoever she faced at this house show while she was intoxicated, I don't blame them at all. They are victims in this entire thing. Arn Anderson deserved to be fired. Alicia Fox deserves to be fired. I don't give a shit what anyone says. If this is a true statement and this is a true of why he got fired, then he should be fired. He should have been fired, and Alicia Fox should be fired. Especially, and I'm sorry, the last thing that you should ever want to see is someone trying to break that trust that people have in the wrestling ring. If I'm going into a wrestling ring and some dumbass is like, oh, well, back in Arn Anderson's day, everybody wrestled drunk. This is 2019. Things are not the same as they were back in the 80s or the 70s where people were getting drunk and by wrestling drunk. This is a different landscape. If Arn Anderson was in AEW or New Japan or Ring of Honor or any of these places and he was the agent for a match and he let somebody go out and he was intoxicated, that company would fire him too. He had every right to be fired for this. Even if he was the best. Even if he was the best employee in WWE, Vince McMahon loved everything he did, this kind of thing would be fireable offense right then and there. I don't give a shit. The last thing you need to do is have somebody go out there and wrestle a match. I don't care if it's a 2-minute match. I don't care if it's a 30-minute match. Somebody goes out there intoxicated. You're pretty much taking the trust that her opponent had and just throwing it out the window. Not acceptable. Arn Anderson should be fired, and Alicia Fox should be fired. Plain and simple. Dean Ambrose still reportedly leaving WWE as we move on here. In recent months, one of the most debated topics amongst WWE fans has been whether or not Dean Ambrose will legitimately be leaving the company after WrestleMania. WWE had sent a statement out to wrestling and confirming Ambrose's approach, saying that Ambrose will not be renewing his contract when it expires in April. Since the statement was released, a number of reports, including one from Brian Alvarez, had mentioned that some people backstage in WWE are under the impression Ambrose is actually staying with the company. Alvarez did not report that Ambrose is staying, just that there were backstage rumors over the weekend that he is not leaving. On Monday's episode of Raw, though, Ambrose's departure was mentioned on commentary for the first time, with Renee Young adding that he's moving on to greener pastures, which kind of buries WWE right then and there. For her to come out and be like, yeah, he's on the greener pastures. That kind of buries your company in it. This is supposed to be the greener pastures for anybody who's a wrestler. But yet your husband is leaving in April. And you say there's greener pastures on the other side, which there are. Kind of hurts WWE's reputation right there. On the Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer established that Dean Ambrose is indeed still leaving WWE when his contract is up. Apparently, as of last Monday's Raw, word from backstage personnel is that Dean Ambrose is definitely on his way out. Ambrose will reunite with The Shield with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns this Sunday in a 6-man tag match against the 3-man bland Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley, and Drew McIntyre. Yes, I said 3-man bland. Man, I should have mentioned this yesterday, but man, Drew McIntyre. More things change, the more they stay the same. It didn't even take you a year to go from being the hottest commodity in WWE again to being in another 3-man band. But Dean Ambrose. Roman Reigns was on a interview recently and said he wouldn't be surprised if Dean Ambrose left. He wouldn't be shocked. because Dean Ambrose marches to a beat of his own drum. He wants to be unpredictable. If he wanted to take a break from wrestling, say he was burnt out and he just wanted to take a break from wrestling, Roman could see that happening. But when you think about it, and Roman said, Dean Ambrose just wants to be happy. Dean Ambrose, if you think about it, is bland, is boring, his character is so fucked up and so destroyed that anything that WWE tries to do with him would not matter anymore. Dean Ambrose needs to go away. Yeah, you're with the Shield right now, you're doing this whole Shield thing again, but what happens after? What happens after the Shield reunion is over? If I sign that 5-year, $20 million, like $7 million, like $1 million a year contract, $5 million contract, what are they going to do with me after I sign that contract? They had me for 5 years. Well, they could be like, well, we got him. We got him for 5 years. We don't have to push the guy. We can just do whatever the fuck we want. Jonathan Good doesn't want that. Jonathan Good wants to be able to express himself, have his own, like, be creative, like, express his creativity that he himself loves to do, and they're just going to stifle him like that. He has every single right to want to leave WWE. And quite honestly, I think it's time for a scenery change for Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley in AEW, Jon Moxley in New Japan, Jon Moxley in Defiant Wrestling, Jon Moxley in Impact Wrestling, Jon Moxley in Ring of Honor would be better off. Or CZW, where he was most famously known from, would be much better than what he's at now. Since he's been in WWE, the indie landscape has changed. There's so many performers in the independents, even if he doesn't show up or go to AEW. There are so many places he could go and wrestle so many superstars and so many wrestlers that weren't there when he was on the independents last. That there is so much that he can do. So him leaving would not surprise me, and I have no problem with it. So again, we'll have to wait and see. This Dean Ambrose leaving is a wait and see moment, and we'll have to wait and see. People are saying he's staying. People are saying he's going. WrestleMania will be really telling if he's going. If something doesn't come out before WrestleMania will be very telling if Dean Ambrose is staying or Dean Ambrose is leaving. That's nothing else about it. Lars Sullivan is said to be doing better after his panic attack in January. Lars Sullivan is said to be in a very good place after dealing with personal issues that kept him from making his WWE debut earlier this year. Sullivan recently sought professional help following a mental health-related incident back in January, panic attack. According to Pro Wrestling Sheet, as we noted, Sullivan was sent to make his debut on this January 7th episode of Raw, and that was to lead to a WrestleMania 35 feud with John Cena. Which I'm not glad that he got panic attack. I'm just glad the feud with John Cena didn't happen, because when was the last time John Cena put a young star over? Hasn't. But Sullivan suffered a panic attack outside the arena, and plans for next WWE has started airing vignettes of surviving in November 2018, but has not been mentioned for a debut since the incident. Following the incident in January, Sullivan immediately began seeking help from mental health professionals, and WWE has been very accommodating to him the whole time, according to wrestlers close to Lars and the new report from Pro Wrestling Sheet. Lars is reportedly feeling much better now after being out of the spotlight. There's no word yet if Sullivan will return to the WWE, but it's not noted that he is happy for the other NXT call-ups that he was supposed to debut with: EC3, Lacey Evans, Nikki Cross, and Heavy Machinery. It's been reported that WWE is said to be very supportive of Lars while he dealt with his personal issues. There's a lot of speculation on the stories about everything all the time. This is from Triple H. And it's funny things, if there were any kind of glitch in the movement for a moment, it leads to everything being speculated, Triple H said during his January call. There's a lot of talk, but Lars is in a good place. Nothing has really changed. We're moving forward, and we'll know when we see it, but nothing has changed. WWE wanted Lars Sullivan to be at the January 28th, which was the post-Rumble episode, but he was not there, and his status is still unknown. All I can say is, for Lars Sullivan, I hope he is in a good place, and hopefully when he does, if and when he does come back, he will have the chance to become a good big star. In my opinion, put him back down in NXT. You have 5 call-ups from when he was supposed to come up: Heavy Machinery, Lacey Evans, who's doing absolutely nothing but boring the piss out of everybody, Nikki Cross, EC3, and then you have Aleister Black and Ricochet At least. I don't think Johnny Gargano's on the main roster anymore because he hasn't been seen since the incident, since Tommaso Ciampa went down. I could be wrong after this coming Monday, but as of right now, it looks like Aleister Black and Ricochet are the only two top NXT guys on the main roster from those 4 guys. So, just put him back down in NXT, let him get reacclimated. Lars Sullivan would be great to be back in NXT. And then maybe in about when he gets a little bit more seasoning, is a little bit more like familiar with the product, he could be brought up to the main roster next year. That's my opinion on that. Backstage note on why the WWE booked the triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania. This is bullshit. I'm telling you that right now. The risk of injury is one of the reasons WWE decided to go with a triple threat match for the Raw Women's title at WrestleMania 35, according to Dave Meltzer. WWE talent get hurt a lot more these days, and there's an added risk when booking long-term angles. I'm not going there. WWE decided on going with Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair versus champion Ronda Rousey so that they could still do a singles match if one of the others suffered an injury. This was not a major reason for going with the triple threat match. This wasn't a reason at all. This is just somebody feeding a bullshit line to Dave Meltzer. But it was one of the reasons, as there was a fear of losing one of the participants. WWE Fastlane's pay-per-view will see Flair and Lynch battle in singles action. Lynch will be added to the Flair versus Rousey match at WrestleMania to make it a triple threat match. If she wins, she will be done. If she loses, according to Stephanie McMahon, the triple threat match has been the plan for a while now. Speaking of Rousey, Lynch, and Flair, the war of tweets between the three continue after this week's episodes of Raw and SmackDown. Raw saw Rousey destroy Lynch while taunting Flair. SmackDown saw Flair try to attack Lynch, but the backfired and Lynch got the best of Flair. Lynch wrote on Twitter after the show, "Bruised ribs, bad knee, bad arm, still beat up. Beat you, see you at Fastlane, Miss Charlotte." And it just kept going. There's no one yet on the twist. It's no secret that the WWE has made several changes to the storyline that end with Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. The Wrestling Observer now reports that there are many more twists to come in the storyline. So you're taking people that this match is supposed to be the biggest match in WrestleMania history for the women, and with all these twists you're adding, it's just diminishing everybody's care for this match. This is bad. All you have to do is have these women come out on Monday and Tuesday and cut promos between now and WrestleMania. No more twist. Just have them cut promos. Show Ronda Rousey as having the thinnest skin of all. Have her beat up on Charlotte Flair. Have her beat up on Becky Lynch. And move on. There's no one yet on what kind of twist WWE has planned, but things should really heat up after Sunday's Fastlane pay-per-view when the triple threat match is made official. Fastlane will feature Lynch versus Flair in a singles action. Lynch will be added to Flair versus Rousey, as we know. WWE could do a few different ways with the finish to the WrestleMania triple threat, but the result largely depends on Rousey's final date with WWE. According to the Observer, Rousey is currently scheduled to finish up the day after WrestleMania, indicating a big blow-off at WrestleMania or possibly Raw. It's also possible that Vince McMahon talks Rousey into a contract extension, which, by the way, they have her contracted till 2021. I don't know why they keep saying but she's going to be going away to start a family. She's going to go on a vacation, which, after helping elevate the WWE's women's division a little bit, she actually deserves. So there's that. The Observer points to how all three superstars have tried hard to make their physical angles look legit and more real than what we usually see in WWE. We noted before that Rousey wanted Lynch to hit her as hard as she could with the kendo stick during the angle at WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Becky did just that, and Ronda needed 7 stitches to close a cut on her elbow and her head. Which, Ronda Rousey getting cut on her head and her elbow was her own damn fault, because when you're getting hit with a foreign object like that, you have to give up a body part that is not going to be damaged that much and can be easily hit. That's why you usually see like the back or the ribs, like the under the ribs, like the stomach area getting hit. Ronda Rousey was flopping around and like everything, so Becky couldn't just zero in on one spot on Ronda. Every time she pulled up and smacked back down, she was always hitting a new piece of Ronda Rousey, which is what wasn't supposed to happen. Flair was also left with a bunch of bruises on her arm from the chamber attack. Rousey also asked Flair to hit her as hard as she could over and over when recently taking kendo stick shots from her. Rousey wanted to have real welts, bruises, and blood from the attack. Regarding the attack from Rousey to Lynch on this week's Raw, Rousey was told to do everything she would do in a real fight at real fight intensity, but no punches or kicks to Becky's face. We don't need to have another broken face incident. And obviously not to actually hurt her. There was still a stiff knee to the face. The idea was that Becky would take Rousey's best punishment and still show up at SmackDown the next day to fight with Flair. The physicality of things may have actually secured Lynch's spot in the WrestleMania storyline, as the Observer points out how Lynch getting injured by Nia Jax back in mid-November could have been the greatest thing that happened to her, at least in terms of the Raw Women's title. Lynch was scheduled to lose to Rousey's armbar in the Survivor Series pay-per-view match that was nixed due to the injury, which have greatly reduced his chances of Lynch being in the Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania. That also would have killed Becky Lynch's momentum dead. If Becky Lynch, Nia Jax breaking Becky Lynch's face is definitely the best thing that happened to Becky Lynch's career. One, it made her look badass that she was out there with blood on her face, beating down on Ronda Rousey. But if this was true that she was supposed to lose to the armbar at Survivor Series, Becky Lynch would be dead in the water and be just another woman on the roster. Her loss, it wouldn't have been Charlotte versus Becky versus Asuka at TLC pay-per-view. It would have been just Becky versus Asuka or Becky versus somebody at TLC with Becky Lynch, with Charlotte Flair taking on, doing something else to get on to face Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. So if anybody has to thank anybody for this match happening, it's got to be Nia Jax. And that's something hard to say with how Nia Jax hurts everybody. Speaking of Ronda Rousey, she says she's tired of just being here to entertain people. Rousey, this has Paul Heyman's fingers all over it. Ronda Rousey posted another edition of her weekly video blog this week where she talked about the events that transpired on Raw. She talks a little about her attack on Becky and demanding to get her title back be added to the WrestleMania match. She goes into more detail about her showing her ambitious dark side and what we can expect from her in the future. She says, and I quote, "It's just that I'm tired of being here to entertain people," said Rousey. "I'm not taking any more direction, notes, or orders, and I'm going to do whatever I want to do. They will keep filming and cashing the checks I bring in." As seen on Raw, of course, Charlotte Flair stayed out of the mix and let Rousey beat the shit out of Becky Lynch, not once, but twice, as she did it as the cameras were off, too. Rousey goes into more detail about what happened. "I'm not worried about what happened, Becky. No, Rebecca talked shit about my husband, and I told her the next time I saw her, I would beat the fuck out of her. And look what I did. This has been coming on to her since Survivor Series. Charlotte and I put on one hell of a match, and I took one hell of a beating. Nobody there was not fixated on what was going on. That match absolutely stole the card." Maybe. Ronda went on to talk about being disappointing in LA fans, booing her and turning on their own talent. She says people in LA come from their other places to get away from their garbage cities so they can fit in more, and they do not cheer for the LA teams. This has Paul Heyman's fingerprints all over it. This just feels like a Paul Heyman promo. As we know, Paul Heyman is actually the one behind Ronda Rousey and Brock Lesnar's stories going into WrestleMania. And this right here is definitely Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman likes to have that real aspect to a promo, a real aspect to a feud. And this is as real as it's going to get. And this just feels like Paul Heyman it should be good. But Paul Heyman plus whatever Vince McMahon's having Charlotte and Becky do, it's kind of hurting everything. This match we should care about and be the most talked about match. The match should be great. The match should be probably one of the best matches of the show. Unless Vince McMahon gets his hands on how this match goes, or he has producers who don't know what the fuck they're doing, who don't know an armbar from their ass. This should be a great match, but I don't think it's going to be. Vince McMahon's probably going to screw everything up, and this entire match is going to probably be... All I know is the build is trash, and I wish we could do something about it. Bruce Pritchard, a full-time WWE employee, not a consultant. Amid reports that Bruce Pritchard may just be a consultant for WWE, PW Insider has posted the following thing: any confusion about the former brother-in-law. Johnson is reporting that as a senior vice president title and is working full-time with the company. Despite conflicting reports online, he says that nothing Nothing he has written has been challenged by anyone within WWE. Despite his busy schedule, Pritchard will continue doing his popular podcast, Something Else to Wrestle With, or Something to Wrestle with Conrad Thompson, which I guess they're not going to be doing a live tour anymore. It's just going to be the taped podcast that they do, which is fine. It's just is what it is. But Pritchard is there you go. If anybody's wondering what's going on, apparently he's actually a full-time and not a consultant. Of course, Pritchard is not going to come out and say, yeah, I'm just there. He's going to say what he has to say. Again, as I said with Jeff Jarrett, it doesn't fucking matter. If Vince McMahon wants something to go one way, it would take the entire company. This is okay, an example. If Vince McMahon wants to give Roman Reigns the Universal Championship at WrestleMania, he's gonna do it, and it would take the entire company and then some to convince him otherwise. Vince McMahon changes his mind all the time, but Vince McMahon is final say. It doesn't matter. Will Pritchard make a difference? Will Jeff Jarrett make a difference? Will Chris Park or any of these other people make a difference? No. We haven't seen it so far, and we're not going to see it ever. This next one, though. This next one. This one is probably going to be interesting. As per the source with the company, when SmackDown Live moves to Fox later this year, the broadcast station wants some changes to the program. Fox is looking to move away from WWE's current 3-person commentary booth to a 2-man booth. That would be fucking amazing. I am so tired of 3-man commentary booths. A man and a woman or whatever. 2 people is enough. We don't need 3 guys. I mean, I don't like the sound. I don't like Josh Matthews at all. He's just so annoying. But Impact Wrestling has him and Don Callis, and that's it. Most of the time, New Japan World has Kevin Kelly and Don Callis. They have another guy who just is so who's just talking like this. He sounds so unenthused, but he's like a Japanese translator, so that's why he's there. Look back at the Attitude Era. Look at the Ruthless Aggression Era. You had Taz and Michael Cole on SmackDown. You had JR, for the most part, JR and King on Raw. You didn't need a third guy. I know they threw Coach in there on Monday Night Raw sometimes, but you didn't need a third guy. Why do you want a third? Why have a third guy? Monday Night Raw is insufferable, especially with Baron Corbin versus Kurt Angle a couple weeks ago. That was like my limit with Corey Graves and Renee Young and Michael Cole, because Michael Cole's trying to commentate on the match while Renee Young and Corey Graves are bickering like 2-year-olds. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I don't want to listen to this shit. Enough. Just enough. I've heard bickering children. I've heard like children fighting not fight as much as those two. It was absolutely ridiculous. I would love to see 2-person booth again. 3-man booth is just way too much. I knew Fox is going to want changes, and Vince McMahon is not going to like this. I don't see Fox and SmackDown Live lasting very long. I'm just saying. But it continues. The source adds, and this is the best part, Fox is also looking for WWE to produce a more edgier product that they aren't looking to give into the PC culture that dominates WWE programming right now. This relationship between Fox and WWE is a disaster already. This is going to fail. This is going to fail so much. I know they don't want to. Fox does not want to. Doesn't want the goofy shit. They don't want the fucking comedy shit that WWE's. They want to be more sports oriented. We're not going to see boobs being flashed up or anything. We're not going to see, we're not going to hear puppies and stupid shit like that. But the comedy shit like the bunny from years ago or the pancakes, I have a feeling the New Day is going back to Monday Night Raw at the Superstar Shake-Up just because of how they are and the fact that they are a goofy pair, which tells me that Kofi Kingston's probably not winning the WWE Championship unless they want to switch brands with the WWE and Universal Championship, which would be fine. But I see the New Day moving to Monday Night Raw for the simple fact is they are comedic gold for WWE, and WWE And Fox doesn't want this comedic bullshit that you see on a weekly basis. This Fox SmackDown deal just gets more interesting and interesting as we go. I have a feeling that between now and October, things are either going to change or this deal is going to end up being null and void. I don't see WWE lasting on Fox a year without Fox wants so many changes. And they want changes now. Imagine 6 months from now when they still want more changes. This is like WCW all over again when standards and practices came in and tried to change or was changing everything on the fly. They were doing, instead of edgy stuff, they wanted PG shit. They wanted to be family friendly. Fox wants the other way. They want edgier program. They're going to push the envelope a little bit. You're not going to hear shit, fuck, damn. You're not going to see fingers, like middle fingers. But you're going to see, honestly, NXT is more the way they should go with this shit. NXT is a little bit more edgier than it is on Monday Night Raw. I mean, it's PG, but it's good PG. It is. It literally is. Only time will tell. It is only February. We still got like 6+ months to go. But this just, it's March. We got like 7 months to go. But this just keeps, this Fox SmackDown and WWE deal just, in my opinion, continues to get worse and worse and worse for WWE. Let me know what you think down below. Let's see here. Bayley reveals which superstars help her and Banks as of lately. WWE's Women's Tag Team Champion Bayley recently spoke with The Mirror and revealed that the close friends that have helped she and Sasha Banks out with tag team wrestling game. Raw Tag Team Champions, The Revival. Bayley admitted that the mindset between tag team and singles wrestlers has been totally different, but she and Banks have been able to learn from Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder for help. She says, "It's been so hard, it's so different, it's a whole bit different psychology, and it's been a struggle to learn. But it's very fun," Bayley said. "Sasha and I are so lucky to have the Revival on Raw with us, and we're lucky to be such good friends with them because they help us so much in understanding the why in so many things. They teach us the psychology of actually being a tag team. People don't understand that." Bayley went on and revealed that the Revival will sit with them and watch matches that they all learn from. She said the Revival has helped the Boston Hub connection so much. She added, "When you're in a tag team, like you have this tag team partner and you make it known that you have this partner that you can work with, there's so many little things we've done. We've had hundreds of tag matches, but now that we're the Boston Hub connection, we are the women's tag team champions. We have to up our games as far as these matches go. Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder will sit with us and watch matches with us and show us matches we will all learn from. And I can't say enough good things about them because they've helped us so much. I'm just excited to get better." Bayley was quiet when asked about the rumored WrestleMania triple threat match, which we're not going to get into. That's not what that's about. Bayley also revealed that she and Banks are pushing for a title defense in NXT. They recently returned to NXT TV to put the black and yellow women's division on notice, and there has been talk of having the women's tag team titles defended on NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. Bayley said they are pushing for a title defense in NXT, and it's something they really want to do. Bayley and Banks will make their first title defense this Sunday at Fastlane against Nia Jax and Tamina. Who better? If you really want to be a great tag team, you want to go from being just a makeshift tag team to a exceptional tag team, you have no one better than Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder of the Revival on your brand. They are two of the quintessential best tag team wrestlers in WWE today. And they are the best tag team on Monday Night Raw for the men. You have the Usos, the New Day, the Revival, who are the best tag teams on the main roster. So who better than the Revival? So if you see, and yes, NXT has been rumored that NXT is going to be getting a takeover in Bayley's hometown on, I believe, June 8th of this year, in on a weekend that doesn't have a main roster pay-per-view. That's fine. That would be, if it's in Bayley's hometown, that would be the perfect place to have the Sky Pirates. I don't think Team Kick's going to be back yet. That's Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai. But if they are, that would be absolutely amazing. Team Kick or the Sky Pirates versus Bayley and Sasha Banks, the Boston Hug Connection, at NXT TakeOver San Jose, California. I think it's at San Jose. But that would be absolutely amazing. So again, if you're going to want to be any tag team, if you want to be a quintessential and learn from one of the best tag teams in all of WWE, you have the Undisputed Era, you have the Revival, you have the Usos, and you have the New Day. That's 4 teams right there. If you want to say both, those 4 teams right there. That is perfect. And when I mean the Undisputed Era, I mean Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. That is Red Dragon. Those are the 4 teams you want to consult because they will teach you how to be a great tag team. Speaking of things WWE has done this year, the XFL is coming back next year. It was announced last year. We have 4 coaches of the 8. We have Mark Trestman for the Tampa Bay team, Pep Hamilton in Washington, D.C., Jim Zorn in Seattle, and Bob Stoops in Dallas. We have 4 teams left to go. And then after that, team names, colors, and all that stuff will be announced afterwards, as well as the TV package. I will let you know all, and my thoughts on the team names and colors when we get there. Now, WWE, Vince McMahon said, when this was announced, that these would be 2 separate entities, WWE and the XFL, because the XFL is run by Alpha Entertainment, not the WWE. That is not true. As we knew it was going to be, Vince McMahon is a big fucking liar about things. In late 2017, there was rumblings that Vince McMahon was considering a revival of the XFL. I believe it was last week we talked about why the XFL is even coming back, because Charlie Ebersol and a couple of other guys tried to pay $50 million to Vince McMahon to buy the rights to the XFL from Vince McMahon in NBC Universal. Vince was like, well, if it's really worth $50 million, I'm just going to start the league myself. And that's what we got the XFL for. In January of last year, McMahon made it official that the league is entirely owned by Alpha Entertainment, which is owned by Vince McMahon and shares office space with WWE. This marks a departure from the first version of XFL, which was equally co-owned by WWE and by NBC. That was mistake number 1 for the original XFL. You should not have co-owned it with the NBC. McMahon established Alpha to completely separate the XFL from the WWE this time around. But that doesn't mean the 2 companies won't work together, and that is evident by recent SEC filings. They noted how much money is in exchange between WWE and Alpha Entertainment / XFL, and also detailed the arrangements between the 2. As previously announced, Vince McMahon organized and owns a majority of Alpha Entertainment LLC, which owns and operates the Professional Football League XFL. Under arrangements made at the time of its organization, WWE received, among other things, an equally interest in Alpha without payment by or other financial obligations on part of it. WWE sold certain intellectual property rights relating to XFL to Alpha for a payment in the amount of $1 million. The reason that would have happened is because the XFL name, logos, and trademarks were all owned by WWE, and they technically sold it to Alpha Entertainment, so that Alpha Entertainment owns the trademarks now. And WWE entered into a support service agreement under which WWE provides Alpha Entertainment with certain administrative support services and a cost-plus margin basis. During the year ended December 31st, 2018, Alpha was billed approximately $1,305,000 for services under the administrative support services agreement, of which $474,000 was due at the end of a subsequently paid. In summary, WWE sold the XFL rights to the Alpha Entertainment for $1 million. Alpha was billed $1.3 million for WWE providing administrative support. Alpha paid $474,000 for the administrative support. While the XFL does have its own careers page on its website, WWE has a job posting for XFL positions on its website. This could be part of the service agreement between WWE and Alpha / XFL as the latter gets up and running. So even though Alpha Entertainment was created to keep the XFL operations separate from WWE, the XFL is still leaning on its big brother named World Wrestling Entertainment. All I gotta say is, the biggest stigma and the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems with the XFL the first time around is that it was, football fans felt like it was WWE football. It wasn't a real football league. It was a football league owned by Vince McMahon, and the fact that you had I believe you had the first game, you had promos from The Rock, from Stone Cold Steve Austin, you had Vince McMahon walk out to midfield and say, this is the XFL. Kind of hurt the XFL's chances of being anything more than just a mediocre football league. Bad play too. The fact that somehow things didn't work out right and the XFL failed last time. I mean, the AAF, which is doing pretty well right now by itself, started a year out, and the reason the AAF even exists is because the XFL was not bought by Charlie Ebersol. Charlie Ebersol wanted to start a football league, but Vince McMahon, and he wanted to buy the XFL name, license, and everything from WWE. Vince McMahon was like, I'll just start the league myself, and Charlie Ebersol was like, fine, I'll start my own league, and I'll start in 2019 because you want to start in 2020, and we'll get the jump on you. And honestly, I watched the AAF. It's actually pretty fun to watch. It feels like good football. You actually get real hits and other things. I mean, the gameplay has improved over the weeks, and people who watched the XFL before was expecting great football right out the gate. People need to realize when you start up a new league, unless you have the quintessential best football players or best players in that sport, the gameplay is going to be terrible right at the start, and it can improve over time. You just got to give it time. Like the AAF, the Alliance of American Football, the very first week, there was like countless delay of games on the offense because they have a 35-second clock instead of a 40-second clock, and as soon as the play is over, the clock starts again. The first week, it was a ton of those delay games. When week 4 just happened, and I think there was maybe 1 or 2 delay games, so that improved. Gameplay has improved overall, and as we get further down, there's still 6 weeks still to go. Week 5 starts tonight, and I'm recording this the day before, so you guys won't even. Week 5 starts tonight, and tomorrow, the biggest game of the year, the Orlando Apollo versus the Birmingham Iron, happens today. But we're getting off topic here. As long as the gameplay is good, and that's the quality of play, of course. As long as the gameplay is good, the XFL should be able to succeed this time. But I don't want to see a Seth Rollins or a Roman Reigns. Like, here's the thing. If Roman, Seth, or any other WWE superstars are at XFL games in the stands, that's fine. They're just sitting there watching football. Maybe the Dallas team, somebody from Tampa Bay, who maybe Titus O'Neil, who's from Tampa Bay, is just there to do some of his work in what is it called? His community service work, and he's at the XFL game. I don't contribute that as he's there on behalf of WWE. Maybe he's there to watch the game, and before the game or after the game, he's doing his charity work that he does and stuff like that. I just don't want to see promos from Seth Rollins like the XFL is gonna burn it down or stupid shit like that. That hurt the XFL last time because you put too much in there. I don't want to see no hokey shit. I don't want to see no fucking we're gonna have cheerleaders, we're gonna have a camera in the locker room, but it's a fucking scripted segment. None of that. This needs to be legitimate football, not what we had last time. But again, to anybody who's Vince McMahon, I'm pretty sure anyone saw this coming, saying that Vince McMahon sat there on that podium and said, these are two separate entities, they're going to have no business together, and then yet they do. There's that. This one, before I even read it, I actually honestly thought it was a different team. Tag team leaving WWE after turning down big contract extensions. I thought it was a different team, but I'm not surprised at which team it is. There's now speculation on Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson possibly leaving WWE later this year. Their contracts run out in September. Gallows and Anderson have reportedly turned down multi-million-dollar contracts from WWE. According to PW Insider, word is that the Good Brothers are now planning on leaving WWE when their current contracts expire. It was reported back in December that their deals will expire in September, but then it was believed that they would be resigning instead of returning to New Japan Pro Wrestling. This, of course, was before AEW potentially entered the picture. We noted how WWE officials have been approaching talent about signing new contracts as of late. Gallows and Anderson had multiple meetings with officials, but word came out over the last few days that they turned down new deals. They are looking to leave WWE because they aren't satisfied with how they've been used in recent years, according to reports. It has been noted that Gallows and Anderson were brought to TV, but they aren't currently booked for non-televised live events. One source claimed by 2PW that they were removed from the live event tours after initial contract meetings that didn't lead to a new agreement between the two sides. The Good Brothers are rarely featured on TV. The former Raw Tag Team Champions lost to Rusev and Nakamura on February 5th episode of SmackDown, and they lost to SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Usos, on December 18th episode. They haven't been used much since then, being brought to SmackDown from Raw after WrestleMania 34 last year. They had a Bots Club WWE digital series premiere earlier this year, but it was nixed after the premiere episode, probably for many reasons. The WWE futures of Gallows and Anderson were a hot topic backstage at this week's episode of SmackDown. While a lot can change between now and late September, word going around the wrestlers this week is that Gallows and Anderson are determined to continue their pro wrestling career outside of WWE. I thought it was another tag team, and since it wasn't that other tag team, I'm not going to mention that tag team. This is not a surprise. The Gallows and Anderson were brought in for WWE for one reason, and one reason only. To put AJ Styles into a group to face Roman Reigns and the Usos. They made a big splash the night after WrestleMania 32. Yeah, WrestleMania 32. Yeah, WrestleMania 32. They made a big splash. They beat the living piss out of the Usos on their first night. They went back. They became friends with John. They realigned with AJ Styles. They had the feud with John Cena. And then when the draft happened, they went to Monday Night Raw. Styles went to SmackDown, where he's been ever since. And they did nothing. They did win the Raw Tag Team titles the next year at the Royal Rumble pre-show. And then they lost them at WrestleMania and haven't done anything since. They even had the whole Balor Club thing. And I thought we had something maybe happening for Finn Balor. And I thought we had something with this whole Balor Club thing. When January came around and you had Gallows and Anderson teaming with Finn Balor, the original club was back together. Well, part of the original club was back together. And that was around for a bit until WrestleMania, in which they kind of just disappeared. They went to the Superstar Shakeup. They ended up on SmackDown, and they were hardly used. I swear, they were brought in to help get Roman Reigns over, and then help feud to get Gallows and Anderson, get Enzo and Cass over with John Cena. They didn't do anything after that. And now we have them doing nothing now. It's not surprising. They are friends with the Young Bucks. And I'm sure they're friends with Kenny Omega. It would not surprise me if the Gallows and Anderson are in New Japan, or not New Japan, or not. It would not surprise me if they are in AEW by the end of the year. Now, Anderson, I'm pretty sure wants to stay in the United States. I'm pretty sure he's got his family here. He has his family in the United States, and I don't think he wants to go back over to Japan and all that stuff. Gallows, I'm sure, wouldn't mind going back to Japan, but I'm pretty sure Anderson wants to stay in this, and this is why it was a feeling that Anderson would stay if Gallows wanted to go, because he wants to keep his family around, but that was before AEW. Now with AEW a thing, I can honestly see these two making a jump to All Elite Wrestling. Speaking of departures, Jim Ross confirms his upcoming WWE departure. After months of speculation, WWE Hall of Famer Jim Ross has confirmed that he will part ways with WWE once again after his current contract expires on March 29th. Ross reveals the news on a recent episode of his Ross Report podcast. Ross said he recently spoke with the chairman, Vince McMahon, and the two mutually agreed that it's time to move on. Ross said the smartest thing he ever did was go back to work for McMahon, was to go to work for McMahon back in 1993. I'm 67. I still feel I can do this job to get the job done doing wrestling play-by-play, and I want to explore that opportunity and possibility. I'll be moving on in a positive way, nothing but good things to say about everyone involved. You know, I have my critics at WWE as well, as we all do, as people do when you're there for a very long time.
It's a very unique community, and I have no regrets. The smartest thing I ever did was come to work for Vince McMahon in '93. Ross also said he is looking to stay busy and be on the road after his wife, Jan, suddenly passed away in March 2017. Ross will likely receive many offers from pro wrestling promotions looking to bring him on, and there will be obvious speculation to possibly run with AEW. Said, I don't think I'll be out of work for long. After being away from WWE since 2013, Ross returned to work for WWE under a 2-year deal a few weeks after his wife passed in spring of 2017. I feel they only signed him back was because of that happening. I'm not the only one who thinks that. Calling a no-holds-barred match between The Undertaker and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 33. He would also do commentary for the 2017 Mae Young Classic, which was down. His commentary was awful in that. And certain NXT matches. I think the best call that JR had in his run was his call of Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne's match at NXT TakeOver Chicago. I believe he called that match. That was like the best call he had. He was alive. He felt lively. He felt like old JR. Ross would reunite with Hall of Famer Jerry Lawler to call some action at Raw 25th anniversary in January 2018, which was goddamn awful. He also called the 5th annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal with Lawler and Byron Saxton at WrestleMania 34 in early April. That was the last time we saw him on WWE's. That was the last time he called a match in WWE. He did appear at the Greatest Royal Rumble on the pre-show panel in Saudi Arabia. That is all for your Monday Night Raw news, WWE news and everything else on AEW as we move on to AEW, because we are not done with the JR news. After the announcement that JR will not be renewing his contract with WWE, it is being reported that he has already made his decision about what is coming next. Raja is now reporting that Jim Ross will be signing a multi-year deal with All Elite Wrestling, and he will be making about $1 million each year. Jim Ross emphatically stated that he would not be out of work for long, as this news seems to be back up that claim. What do you guys think of JR joining All Elite Wrestling? Honestly, for pay-per-views, I think JR would be best at big shows like Double or Nothing for the second show, which we'll get to in a second, for All Out if it's a thing. But I think Tuesday Night Dynamite, whatever the TV show is going to be, should be with Alex Marvez and Excalibur, if those two are the commentary team. I think it should be two different commentary teams. JR and somebody like a Matt Striker if they want to, or somebody like a Jim Cornette, which would be amazing. And I go to it every time, and people might not like it, but Jim Ross, before he signed back with WWE, him and Jim Cornette did call some pay-per-view events for What Culture Pro Wrestling in 2017. Those were great. Those two called some great matches. Do I see that happening? No. But Jim Ross in AEW, I would not want to see him be the person doing the TV shows. The monthly pay-per-views or bi-monthly pay-per-views, fine. That is awesome. That'd be great. He should be there for that. Him working he should be there on a weekly basis for commentary for the backstage role. He could be the one like being the head commentator, helping the people calling the matches grow and expand. That's where that should be. He should be in the back. He should be the one with the headset on doing the Vince McMahon role, trying to relay what they want you to get over. Now, in AEW, I don't think it's going to be as bad as WWE, where you have somebody with a headphone on telling the commentators to say every single thing they want you to say. They're going to give you more freedom. So I would definitely like to see if JR is going to AEW. Double or Nothing, fine. Next up the show, fine. Pay-per-views, yes. Main TV, no. Give that to a younger core. He could be the guy calling the big matches. That's because he is prime time. Let the actual TV show be called by another group. That's my opinion. Speaking of AEW, Fight for the Fallen confirmed by All Elite Wrestling. If you missed the latest episode of Being the Elite, Kenny Omega is waiting at a restaurant and someone enters and sits in front of him. Eventually it's revealed to be Michael Nakazawa. Hopefully I said that right. Omega wants him to come to AEW in some capacity, and we see a graphic that he is with the promotion. Cut to Mac Jackson seeing the news and having no idea who it is. They wonders what's with AEW signing all these unknown people like MJF. Matt and Nick would end the episode with the announcement on AEW's next show in Jacksonville, Florida. It would be Fight for the Fallen on July 13th at Dolly's Palace Amphitheater. Tickets will be available soon. This was actually not the first time this was announced, because in the previous episode before the recent one of Road to Double or Nothing, Brandy Rhodes is talking to B. Priestley on the phone about bringing her in, and I'm pretty sure Brandy Rhodes talked about the second show being Fight for the Fallen. So it will be on July 13th at Dolly's Place Amphitheater in Jacksonville, Florida. So if you're in Jacksonville, you have the dates. Cannot wait for those tickets, can you? And let's see what happens. We do know that B. Priestley will be at Fight for the Fallen. So if you are a fan of B. Priestley, be happy because she will be there. Let me see here. Okay, we have two more. First off, we have a new name was added to the Bova Budget Battle Royal. AEW Double or Nothing takes place on Saturday, May 25th from the MGM Grand Garden in the Arena in Las Vegas. The latest Road to Double or Nothing was announced that Ace Romero will be involved in the Over the Budget Battle Royal. Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho, Adam Page, Hangman Page versus Pac, the Young Bucks versus Pentagon and Ray Phoenix, Cody Rhodes versus a mystery opponent, still don't know who that is, Britt Baker versus Kylie Ray versus Nyla Rose, Soul Cal Uncensored versus Shima with two OWE partners to be announced, Sonny Kiss, Kip Saban, Brandon Cutler, Ace Romero, and others to be named for the Over Budget Battle Royal. So other than the Cody Rhodes opponent and who else is going to be in the Battle Royal, which I'm sure they're not going to tell you everybody, this card is complete. This is your card. If they go any more, I think it's a little much. Now, before we get out of here, how AEW's TV will be fresh and new by Cody Rhodes. The best way to avoid complacency is competition in 2019. That's any year, really, not just 2019. Wrestling fans may be finally getting some genuine competition for their television time. Still over 2 months away from their first show, All Elite Wrestling is already very good at drumming up interest of their brand of professional wrestling. Front and center of one of the faces of AEW is Cody Rhodes, tabbed as an executive vice president of AEW. Rhodes' job between now and the company's first live event in Double or Nothing set on May 25th and is to keep the pro wrestling promotion in the news. AEW is being built from the ground up right before our eyes, and it's fascinating to watch. Part of AEW's road to sinking or swimming is what kind of television the other promotion lands. Speaking with the New York Post, Rhodes was asked about AEW's future television show will feel fresh. How? He says, and I quote, "To me, it's treating it as a live sports." Rhodes says, "The core to chat to that is characters, and I think characters beam across your television set or devices in ways perhaps people have forgotten. Wrestling used to have these great enhancement matches, these squash matches where you would see these characters and the thing he can do. He'd tell you what you had on pay-per-view events and things of that nature." Rhodes continued, "At the core of all wrestling, when it's done right, it is the characters and their connection to the audience." Rhodes said, "If you really think about it, we're the only thing out there. The pro wrestling genre is general. We're the only thing out there that with this type of engagement with the audience. And the engagement somehow affects what happens in the ring, especially when you are someone like Chris Jericho and you can hear it, feel it, and completely in your bone. It's really important that the character engage the audience. You don't just be watching a show, you want to be participating. When AEW does secure a TV deal, it will be interesting to see just how different it feels from what WWE produces on a weekly basis. There is a delicate balance between how many former WWE employees and how many indie wrestlers AEW signs before their first event. Not only on TV, Rhodes would also go on to explain how AEW will feel fresh from talent and roster building perspective. In terms of talent, that's what matters a great deal to me, Rhodes says. It's one of the biggest factors in hiring fresh. It is fresh. To give you an example, we all watch a lot of wrestling where a lot of guys have been recycled and rehashed and reused, and there is always a lot of activation of legend. I totally get that. I'm not anti it. I just think if you're starting a company, and not many people have been starting a company in wrestling, you start with people that haven't seen, people who haven't gotten the opportunity and get to grow up in front of and balance it out. Basically, you do need the established names, a Chris Jericho, a Kenny Omega to some, a CM Punk if he was to come back would be another one. but you also need the unknown talents. I'm going to harp it on it again, but World Cultural Pro Wrestling, now Defiant Wrestling, started in the summer of 2016. I didn't know who Joe Hendry was. I didn't know who Fryman was. I didn't know who Martin Kirby was. I didn't know who Gabriel Kidd or any of these other guys were. I knew who Jay Lethal was. They booked Jay Lethal for the first set of tapings, so you had my intrigue. Yes, there was Adam Blampier, Adam Pacini, and all those guys. The commentary, which was done by Simon Miller and Ross Fordell for the majority of those tapings, was absolutely fucking awful. And I'm just like, that is something I wish they could go back and rehash and get some actual commentary in there, which is now Dave Bradshaw and James R. Kennedy. I don't remember what happened to his first partner, but he's not there anymore. But for that first set of tapings, I knew nobody outside of Jay Lethal in a wrestling capacity. I didn't know who Big Damo was. I didn't know who Rampage was, even though I should have because he wrestled in ECW a little bit, but I didn't. So getting to see what they would do with Jay Lethal and who he would face, he went off and faced Noam Dar. Damn good fucking match. If you can find that Jay Lethal Noam Dar match, damn good fucking match. And I can't remember who he wrestled at the first ever Built to Destroy, but he had a great match there. You come to see the names that you know, but you stay for the names you don't know. So, like, coming back to Defiant Wrestling when they started Loaded Up in December, it's like, I knew who Primate was. He's gone now. He's in NXT UK. I know who Rampage is. Gabriel Kidd, Martin Kirby, Joe Hendry. Let me say that right. Joe Hendry. But I don't know who Omari is, or Visage, or a Man Like DeReese, which is a terrible name. I know who Drake is. I don't know really much of No Fun Done, or any of those guys. So, going into a wrestling promotion, and to keep a wrestling promotion relevant, especially Defiant Wrestling is an indie promotion, you got to have the names that people know, but you also want to be able to bring intrigue, so you got to have the names that nobody knows. Just like Sonny Kiss, Jungle Boy, and everybody who's in the Over Budget Battle Royal. I don't know any of them. I've never seen them before. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can bring to AEW, which is going to bring the intrigue. I'm there to see the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, Pac, Hangman Page, the Lucha Bros, and so on and so forth. But I would stay for everyone else. Rhodes added Chris Jericho is a 6-time world champion, cool, and that the only helps that people he shares the locker room with. And that's been a big thing. It's ironic that it's the ex-WWE guy saying it in me, but obviously we don't just want to do that. He's ex-WWE. Let's throw him the world and hope he can hang out with us. Honestly, anybody who comes, this was what Impact Wrestling failed to do. Impact Wrestling brought Kurt Angle in and pushed him to the top immediately. They brought the Dudley Boys in as Team 3D and did everything they could to push them up high. If somebody comes and they're an ex-WWE guy, unless it's like a CM Punk or a John Moxley, or even John Moxley, unless it's somebody huge, like if John Cena said, you know what, I'm going to go give AEW a chance, or Randy Orton came over to AEW, that would be one thing. But you don't take a WWE guy and push them to the moon because, hey, they're ex-WWE. That was Impact Wrestling's biggest failures. They would take somebody from WWE. Christian came over and won the World Heavyweight Championship, I think, not too long after he got there. If somebody comes from WWE, say the Good Brothers come, or the Usos come, or John Moxley comes from WWE, you start at not the bottom, but you start in the middle. You don't start at the fucking top. That's where you would be able to make this improvement. Yeah, they're ex-WWE guy, but they got to prove to us that they belong here in AEW. And they're not in WWE for a reason. Outside of Dean Ambrose, he doesn't want to be there anymore. The Good Brothers aren't there because aren't in WWE after September because WWE didn't see any value in them. So we're going to bring you in, but we're not going to push you to the exact top. If you want us to see the value in you, you have to start at either the bottom or the middle and do what you can to get to that top spot. That's what we need to see. You can bring in all the ex-WWE guys that you want. But to make sure that the guys who we don't know who they are, like a Sonny Kiss, like a Jungle Boy, or Ace Romero, who I don't know any of those people, they need to get their time too. Just don't be in Impact Wrestling or a WCW who would bring somebody from WWE in and just give them the world. Give them title shot after title shot after title shot. Let's see how this goes, but that is exactly what you do. If you're an ex-WWE guy, don't come into All Elite Wrestling and expect to be given the world. You need to be coming into AEW expecting to earn everything that you get. And hopefully Cody and the Young Bucks do exactly that. But that is all for episode 60 of Unscripted. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of everything we talked about today. Am I out of my fucking mind when I talk about all this stuff, or does anything that I say make sense to you? Let me know. I want to hear I want to hear from you guys. I don't get many comments. I would love to see comments from you guys. Let me know. Hit that like button. Hit that dislike button. Find me on Twitter at TheFrance. Find me on twitch.tv/TheFrance08. And I will see you guys tomorrow for Fastlane review and results. Until then, my name is TheFrance, and I will see you guys later.